So this brings us on to repositioning, which is all about emphasizing certain characteristics of your product to appeal to a new market segment. My apologies, Roger, our slides have got slightly out of order. So, if repackaging simply isn't going to work, we need to look at repositioning. And in order to do that, you need to understand the context in which Chinese consumers are operating. The drivers and motivators that cause customers to act in this market are different, so the positioning of your digital presence needs to adapt too. As Charles was talking about earlier, as you may or may not be aware, the Made in China label has many of the same negative connotations in China as it does in some Western markets. And Chinese consumers are willing to pay more for imported goods, which they view as superior quality and safer. Whenever I travelled overseas, I would always return with a suitcase full of baby formula for my Chinese colleagues who didn't trust what was locally available. You can imagine the fun I had going through Chinese customs with a suitcase full of white powder every time. But back in March of this year, the Chinese government put a limit on the amount of baby formula that you can bring into the country, primarily in response to people crossing to Hong Kong to buy their supplies. So if you are looking to reposition your product service for China, bear in mind you've got a natural advantage. The Made in China brand is a strong one already. So this repositioning may be as simple as simply repricing what you have. So a bottle of $20 to $30 Australian wine selling in Shanghai may be 400, 500, 600 RMB. This also reflects a repositioning in the way that wine is consumed in the market though. So here in Australia, we drink wine with meals. We drink it on social occasions. We drink it when we're out. In China, much more associated with big celebrations in my experience. You also need to take care with repositioning. So Coach, which Charles mentioned, they found that customers are much more savvy these days, everywhere in the world, and thanks to social media, they have a much more global view. So when Coach entered the Chinese market, they tried to reposition themselves from a tier 2 luxury brand to a top tier luxury brand. However, Chinese customers quickly realized that the prices that they were being charged were several $100s higher than in America and Europe. And to add insult to injury, this isn't an imported luxury good. Coach was actually producing these products in Dongguan. Another company that's done this successfully, though, is Lenovo, who've done it in reverse, if you like. So a key trend in China these days is people moving a long distance from their homes to take up jobs in the big tier 1 cities, students increasingly traveling overseas to university, and global companies being particularly keen for their managers to get experience in overseas markets. Flights around the key holiday times, such as Chinese New Year and National Day, can be incredibly expensive, which means not everybody can fly home. And if you're trying to travel by bus or rail across a country the size of China, it can take 3 or 4 days. You can turn around as soon as you arrive home in some cases. Lenovo is recognizing this trend and positioning its products as a means of bringing people together, despite the distances. The website also highlights the key importance of parents as consumers. Parents are spending a huge amount of their income on children. So sending a child to a foreign university overseas, that can cost parents between $60,000 and $100,000 before you even take into account living costs. And that cost is still borne by the parents in China. We don't have this loan system where the students pay like in Australia. An example from my personal experience, a guy I knew in Shenzhen called Li. He worked as a security guard, and he and his wife spent 2/3 of their income on their daughter's private schooling in Hong Kong and for her to lodge with a Japanese family while she was there during the week. So a huge investment, but that means her daughter's going to grow up well educated and speaking Mandarin, Cantonese, Japanese, and English. In Australia, Lenovo is repositioned much more as a B2B brand. The website is all about functionality, price, and product performance attributes. This suggests that Lenovo is targeting a very different audience in Australia. So if you are going to reposition, remember, central role of the family and children as a major source of expenditure. Looking beyond digital for a moment, Kestrel brought up Pizza Hut as an example. Now, overseas companies have been entering China for many years with varying degrees of success. Pizza Hut is one that has done it successfully, rolling out across especially tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 cities. And if you do walk into a Pizza Hut in China, at first glance it's going to appear very familiar. The branding, anyway, is instantly recognizable. The look and feel of the restaurant is familiar. You've got similar colors, similar palettes, and the tables are laid out for dining in couples or in small groups. However, when you come to the menu, it's unrecognizable. It's dominated by sharing plates and Chinese-style foods. There's far more drinks and desserts. And even if you did order a pizza or a pasta dish, it wouldn't taste anything like you're expecting. Much plainer, it'd be much less rich. And this same adaptation is carried through into Pizza Hut's online presence. So here in Australia, the website is all about the product and the price. Yes, there's some building relationships, but it's between the company and the consumers, one-to-one, through the loyalty scheme, and there is a store finder, but you can see that the intention is that people are buying from and eating at home. Pizza Hut China has grouped a selection of dishes clearly meant for sharing. The role of the family is emphasised. Eating is a shared experience. And the focus is on coming together in the restaurant, not ordering from home. Especially in the tier 2, tier 3 cities, you've got the emerging middle classes who want a taste of something they see as exotic, and they want to experience new things. However, these things need to be suited to the climate and to the Chinese diet. So Pizza Hut provides a very Western experience, along with the opportunity to try their famous product, but also alternatives from those who are feeling less adventurous. The core purpose and beliefs, however, that food should bring people together, is strongly reflected. So, if you are reinventing your proposition, tailor your offering to the Chinese behaviour and beliefs, as well as the market context. So finally, 3 options that we've talked through for entering the Chinese market through repackaging, repositioning, reinventing. But the key finding I wanted to leave you with from the research we did is that when doing business in China, the traditional rules still apply, especially to marketing and design. You need to understand your customers. You need to talk to people in China to understand how they chat, how they buy, how they entertain themselves online. And you need to understand the values, the beliefs and goals that drive their online behaviour. You need to tailor to your customers. You need to select the product and marketing mix and the messages that reflect the context you find in China. And as we've mentioned already, you need to test with your customers. This can be challenging in China, where there's less of a culture of try early, experiment, feel free to fail, and people will be keen to give what's perceived as the correct answer. But if you can do this early prototyping and testing, you can avoid making some expensive mistakes such as the ones we've seen earlier. And by doing all of this, I believe you'll create a great online experience for your customers that will differentiate you in the market. Thank you.